How you doing, family? Okay, this is going to be part two of my Bantu Tesla. We're doing a review of the Q3 report from Tesla. And what I'm going to do, I bypass all of the RJ, one of the guys, he's in charge of these the battery storage and a solar unit. I'm going to go right to the question and answer where uh, Elon is talking about significant things like I'm not going to bother you with the battery, anode, cathode, and all that nonsense and what they're going to do with. They talked about what they're going to do with Berlin and battery distribution and use and all that stuff. I'm not bothering you with that. We're going to focus on the key things that Elon talks about that I think are significant to you, that has been out now for about a week. Today is the 26th. This thing happened, almost a week ago. So I'm going to just focus on the key questions to try to keep this as short as possible because, it's going to get kind of long winded, and Elon is going to drop some of his grenades. He's going to pull a pin on a bunch of grenades and softly, gently pull the pin on grenades and and try to pretend it's not that important. But you got to watch. I want you to learn how to listen to Elon. This is one of the key things I'm doing, why I'm doing these movies, that no other YouTuber is going to take the time and hold your hand and explain to you the subtle little ways that Elon Musk pulled the pins on grenades and throw lobs them out there and they explode. It's going to be an explosion. And he just says it so cavalierly, and I want you to understand that. Okay, so let's get at it. We're going to pick it right up where Elon is answering a question that I'm going to play for you. I don't even remember what the hell it is. But when you hear it, and then what I'll do is I'll come back in after he gives his answer, and I'll give you a critique on that. Okay, so welcome to Bantu Tesla, and let's get at it.
The fourth question is, what are the remaining constraints to be solved for solar roof installations to ramp significantly? Carl?
Yeah, this is Carl Peterson. I'm on the solar roof engineering and installation. The biggest constraint right now on solar roof ramp is getting enough installers on board and trained and experienced. We've made a lot of progress on this in Q3, and we're continuing to hire. The next opportunity is improving the material flow on the job site. We've talked about this a lot in the factory as well, that setting up the right packaging, kitting, so that every installer on the roof has the parts they need at their fingertips. Also, we've had great response from third-party roofing contractors as they're ramping up installations for solar roof on their customer homes, which is a big source of future growth.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah. Now, I mean, here's a way to think about a product, in my opinion. You have to say, I think, what do you want the world to look like? When you look around the neighborhood, in the future, a decade from now, what do you want? What products are going to make your life better? What future do you want? And I think a future where we've got beautiful roofs with generating energy that are tougher and resilient and better in every way than a regular roof, and a lab with energy, that's the future we want. The solar roof is a killer product. This will become obvious next year.
Okay, so one of the guys that spoke earlier, he's the guy who's like the VP in charge of the whole solar roof installation and the power pack and all of that installation process, both for grid storage as well as for residential. But the focus here on this question was solar roof. And when they say solar roof, they're talking about the Tesla solar roof, which replaces the roof itself, not solar panel. Although panel is always a given, but the focus of Tesla is on solar roof and the storage battery that's residential for the house. That the Tesla battery, well, the battery backup system for the house, that's the key thing, and auto bidder. You're going to hear later on, they're going to talk about that. But what Elon is trying to point out is that he said that the solar roof is going to be a killer product. He said, and we'll see that next year. He said, because what he's talking about, he's saying that people are going to finally get their heads around the fact that these roofs are qualitatively and quantitatively better than the old roofs that they have been using for the last 200 years. Nothing has changed. Very little has changed with those roofs. And he's pointing out that what people are going to realize is that once you have a beautiful roof that is almost unbreakable by standard compared to the other roofs, people are going to wake up to this. And when they tap into the Tesla battery backup system combined with auto bidder, the auto bidder software program that's going to be making money for the owner of the roof and the battery backup system. When people get their heads around that, as I have said in my previous movies, it's going to be mind-boggling. It's going to be an explosion of demand, and demand is going to be the thing that's going to drive the stock up. When more demand comes online for just the solar roof and the battery backup system, when that kicks in, folks, again, exponential growth, it's going to blow the roof off of sales of the solar roof. Once people really understand what it is, how it works, and the different packaging of it, meaning you can get a lease. You don't have to buy the whole roof. You can lease the roof. All of these different ways of offering this product to you, it's going to cause an explosion. When people realize they don't have to pay for the whole roof, they can try it out first before they actually have to own it, and they'll come and take it back off and restore your roof back to the way it was. That's how good and how confident they are that once people get this on their roof, they won't want to get rid of it. That's how confident they are. So that's what Elon means when he says solar roof is going to be a killer product. Okay? So let's go on and see how this is going to fly.
Thank you. And the last question from retail shareholders is, you recently referred to Tesla as a conglomerate of startups. Other than manufacturing electric cars, what do you suppose will be the most valuable business units within Tesla over the next 5 to 7 years? Could you envision any of them ever spinning out from Tesla?
Well, yeah, I was thinking about this today. I mean, there's probably in excess of a dozen startups effectively in Tesla. Every major product line is a startup. Every big new plant is a startup. And sometimes, frankly, we have to learn the lesson a few times before it sinks in. Even things like service and sales are startups. Other car companies, OEMs, they don't own their sales and service. So we have to create our service network. We have to create our sales and delivery network. We have to do this in, 40 countries, multiple languages. Something that people don't really even know much about is our internal applications team that writes the core technology that runs the company. We are not dependent on enterprise software. Like, for those who understand what this means, this is a very big deal. And my hat is off to the great work of the internal applications team. They write the nervous system, the operating system of the company, the Tesla operating system. Extremely fundamental. Obviously, insurance is substantial. So insurance could very well be, 30-40% of the value of the car business, frankly. And as we've talked about before, with a much better feedback loop, instead of it being statistical, it can be specific. Now, obviously, somebody does not have to choose our insurance, but I think a lot of people will. It's going to cost less and be better, so why wouldn't you? Then the whole autonomy thing is a startup. The computer chip was designing our own computer chips was a startup. Obviously, cells are a startup. Designing and making our own power electronics for the drive unit. Designing, manufacturing our own motors, chargers. The supercharger network is a startup. The thing I think that people just don't really understand about Tesla is that it's a whole chain of startups. And they're like, well, you didn't do that before. Yeah, but we're doing it now. And I mean, I think so far we've maybe been a bit slow with some of the startups, but I don't think we've had any of them fail. So far so good. No plans to spin anything out. That just sounds like added complexity.
Okay, so there he dropped quite a few bombs, and it's pretty extensive. The question was about, Tesla being more having a conglomerate of startup companies, and Elon's answer, to keep it all short and simple, was absolutely. And then he went on to rattle off all of the startups. And this is what I've been trying to tell you folks for the past solid year. And anybody that will ask me, I tell them Tesla is not an automobile company. It is a technology company that is groundbreaking, mind-boggling, and something like you have never seen before. And this is why the analysts on Wall Street will never get it right. It will take them upwards of 5 to 10 years before they finally figure out what Tesla is. That's how slow they are. And this is such an exponentially bright startup company that they just will never get it. If you look at, he just mentioned, the key thing that makes them a startup is because everything that they do, they have to do it start from scratch. And everything they're doing is next level and innovative. Nobody is doing what they are doing. The way that they're making cars, nobody is doing it the way that they're doing it. The fact that they're doing EVs, nobody is doing EVs on the level and on the scale and with the level of technology that Elon is doing with Tesla. Every time I say nobody is doing it, that's to let you know that's more money on more value in the stock. All of the different things that they're doing with the manufacturing of the car, and it's just the car. We ain't talking about the batteries yet. Just the car itself, with the way that they're manufacturing and pressing and doing a 3-piece molding of the chassis of the car and the battery being integrated into the car. That's an industry right there all by itself. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else is doing that. The fact that they have regenerative braking system that is on the level that Tesla has. Nobody's doing that. The fact that the full self-driving is a whole nother animal all by itself. Nobody's even going to come close. And that just went out last week on the first level on the a beta version that went out last week. Nobody's doing that. What these other people are doing is a joke, and you're going to find that out in 1 year. The top is going to blow off of Tesla by the end of next year. All the doubts and all the nonsense and all of my enthusiasm and all of my energy is going to be crystal clear to everybody by the end of 2021. I'm sorry. Everybody's going to see it. So Tesla he's right. The questioner is absolutely right. Tesla is a conglomerate of startups. And everything they're doing, people can't imitate because they're moving so fast and innovating so fast that by the time somebody copies what they were doing last year, it's already maybe obsolete this year. Someone earlier is going to ask later on, well, I won't jump the gun. The solar roof, and as far as that's a whole new, the way they're making roofs, nobody's making solar roofs that way. Everybody's still making solar panels. Nobody is making a solar roof. Nobody. See? The Tesla Powerwall, couldn't think of the name of the doggone battery backup system. Powerwall. Tesla Powerwall and Tesla Power Pack, nobody's making those. Nobody. Just don't. People are making battery backup systems, but nothing like what Tesla's doing. With lithium batteries, no. The size, and then the software auto bidder that's managing the battery system and selling that to power grid company, nobody's doing that. That's next level. And all of that's going toward the Tesla stock. Everything I'm telling you is going toward increasing the value of the Tesla stock. I'm going to keep being animated about this, enthusiastic, and really, pushing to get you to understand. And I'm going to do a lot of performing for you here because I want you to get your head around this. So when this stock explodes, I want as many of you to be in on this so we can ride the wave up, black folks. Okay, we've got to get in on this. All right, so I'm going to keep hammering at you with these kind of technical videos and make sure that you get it. But when he's talking about startups, everything that Tesla does, the charging system, worldwide, nobody has a worldwide charging system. So there's some people in the United States, there's some in Europe, but they're not in China. They're not in Korea. They're not in Germany. Tesla is all over the world. Now you want to talk about a startup? You talking about using solar panels to charge your charging systems and all? Nobody's doing that. And if they are, they're just getting started. And they're 10 years behind Tesla. Okay? And I could go on and cite you. And just like what Elon said, he owns his dealership. No other auto company owns their dealership chain. They own their dealership and maintenance shops. They own it. The other automakers, GM, Ford, they don't own those things. They contract that. They give that to dealerships. There's a totally separate companies from GM and Ford and Chrysler and any other auto company in the world. Tesla's the only one. Their business model is the only one. The vertical integration, which means they make everything as much as possible themselves, down to the seats in the cars. They make that themselves. They're the only ones. Whenever you keep saying they're the only ones, that means high value for the stock. Okay, let's keep it moving, see what we got here. And make sure that you get it. But when he's talking about startups, everything that Tesla does, the charging system, worldwide. Nobody has a worldwide charging system. So there's some people in the United States, there's some in Europe, but they're not in China. They're not in Korea. They're not in Germany. Tesla is all over the world. Now you want to talk about a startup? You talking about using solar panels to charge your charging systems and all? Nobody's doing that. And if they are, they're just getting started. And they're 10 years behind Tesla. Okay? And I could go on and cite you. And just like what Elon said, he owns his dealership. No other auto company owns their dealership chain. They own their dealership and maintenance shops. They own it. The other automakers, GM, Ford, they don't own those things. They contract that. They give that to dealerships. There's a totally separate companies from GM and Ford and Chrysler and any other auto company in the world. Tesla's the only one. Their business model is the only one. The vertical integration, which means they make everything as much as possible themselves, down to the seats in the cars. They make that themselves. They're the only ones. Whenever you keep saying they're the only ones, that means high value for the stock. Okay, let's keep it moving, see what we got here.
To make money for them. So basically proprietary version of two-row.
I think we're going to focus on enabling the robotaxi system. So you can just basically, that's really quite a small subset of the overall robotaxi or robocar thing, where you can have the car be autonomous for you. You can have the car be, shared with friends and family. You can add or remove it from the network. You can have it be entirely in the network. I mean, if you're an Uber or Lyft driver, you could be managing, a fleet of 10 cars. It sort of seems like a, shepherd tending the flock type of thing. It's like you just get way more leverage. So, I think that's sort of we could do that, and it wouldn't be very difficult. But we're going to just be focused on just having an autonomous network, that has sort of elements of Uber, Lyft, and Airbnb. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the question was about whether they're going to offer the clients who own the Tesla vehicles and have the full self-driving package, and they want it and use their car in the ride-sharing fleet system that Tesla's going to put online in a couple of years, or in a year or so. The ride-sharing robo-taxi is what they're talking about. Ride-sharing and robo-taxi, same thing. Devastating, mind-boggling, multi-billion, trillion-dollar business all by itself. And what Elon just broke down to you is a devastating, and he says it so nonchalantly. Yeah, well, the driver, he'll have the choice of putting the car in the system and letting it go out and make money for him, or he can let the car go and let the family just use the car. And the things he's saying, though, nobody else is doing. And he's saying it all nonchalantly. And see, this is what's going to devastate you. It's going to devastate and it's going to rip the hair off of people's skulls when they finally realize what's happening. And when they finally wake up to it, and the reason this is happening, and I know I'm going to take a segue off on a tangent here, but this is what I'm trying to get folks to understand. You have got to come out of these conventional mindsets where you're used to being held like by the hand and led like a sheep to slaughter. You're so used, and I don't blame you. I understand. I know that I have a unique position in the sense that I've studied technology and automotive since I was in high school. So we're going way back. I mean, I've been into cars since I was probably about 15, 16 years old. And we're talking well over 50 some odd years. So for me, I've been there with the evolution of automotive. I've been there with the evolution of computers. I've been knee deep in and then my job in the Verizon was high tech and fiber optic broadband systems. So I've been dealing with computers and high tech and engineering level math and all kinds of stuff. All right. Only thing I've never really done was programming. I never really liked that. But this kind of technology is so revolutionary. And I mean, it's radical. And this is something I tend to avoid. I avoid radical things. But this is the one time radical revolutionary change is good. And the only reason it's so radical is because the whole society in the world has been held back by dumb brutes who were oil drilling people. And it's not totally their fault. They're just products of their time. And They're troglodytes. They're used to doing things like a troglodyte. So when you get a Star Trek, a Scotty level engineer coming in with a whole football field full of engineers, football stadium full of the brightest and the sharpest engineers on the planet, not in the country, on the planet. It's beyond comprehension, because people have never seen anything like this. And Elon is quietly, comfortably sitting back, and I know what he's talking about. And we've seen the starships, the SpaceX send the rockets up to send the team up to the space station. We've seen the boosters land on their by themselves, standing up on a moving barge on the water. You see, you have to learn to see indicators that let you know the level and the magnitude of improvement that you're looking at. This is this kind of stuff we see in Star Wars and in Star Trek. And Elon is doing it. So let's transfer that over back to Robotaxi. He just put out full self-driving this week. By the end of the year, there is going to be another tranche of software download upgrades that he's going to send out to all of the Teslas in the world. All right? And at the same time, every single one of them is going to be upgraded to that have the full self-drive, paid for the full self-driving package. Those cars are going to be driving themselves. And little by little, people are going to get in these cars, and they're going to see this technology at work, and it's going to boggle their minds. But by this time, by December next year, the young people, the vast majority of people, will have ridden in a car that has Tesla's full self-driving package working in it, and they're seeing it in real time. And before, we were talking. Now it's really happening. And let me tell you something. It's a different ballgame. When you're in the car and you're seeing this thing happen, at first it's going to be scary as hell. But within 6 months, if you do it 2, 3, 4 times, it'll be amazing. You'll be amazed. Within 1 year's time, you'll still be amazed, but you'll be kind of used to it. So within 2 years' time, within 5 years' time, you will have no problem getting in a car, and the driver, they may still allow a driver to be sitting there. But within 5 years' time, folks, I'm telling you, these cars will be driving you from door to door with no intervention at all. And I would say if the regulations catch up to the safety factor of these cars, and the insurance companies catch up to the safety factor of this car never running a red light, never driving drunk, never falling asleep behind the wheel, never running anybody over. It has an algorithm that will not allow it to run somebody over intentionally, not unless they step out and the car is moving 35 miles an hour, and right as the car is passing and you step out, you're going to get hit. No computer can respond that fast. Nobody, nothing in existence can respond that fast. Okay? And if anything could do it, it would be a Tesla. But just physically, it's impossible. Okay? So when this robotaxi fleet comes online and the owners realize that they can make money without sitting behind the wheel of the car, when that regulatory advent has cleared all the regulatory hurdles and goes online, I feel sorry. If there's any ICE, what they call internal combustion engine cars left on the road, folks, they're just going to be sitting on the road. And see, people think that the cars are going to be taken off road. No, they're going to be left sitting right there where they are. And the dust is going to begin to gather. And after a while, the people will start finding, well, they won't find you if it's on your own property, but it's going to be an eyesore. So you're going to be looking to get rid of it. with all the gas and the oil and the fluids and the belts and the motor mounts and this and that and all the crap that goes wrong with these cars. And nobody's going to want them. You won't be able to give the damn thing away. That's how bad it's going to be, folks. Once people realize what this car is, and that's why I'm telling y'all, by 2021 or 2022, you better get yourself a Tesla. And they're going to come out with a $25,000 model in 2023. But if you can swing the note and put down a decent enough deposit so you can keep your note down low, and then get the Tesla insurance, which is going to start to go out in another year. The Tesla insurance is going to start to go out. So everybody's going to switch over to that because it's going to be so much cheaper, because Tesla has all the data coming from their cars. So they'll be able to give you a price that'll be Geico, all of them be wiped out. They're going to be so cheap. Okay, that's what he's talking about with this auto bidder. You're going to have so much flexibility on what you're going to have flexibility you have never ever heard of in your life. So again, stock price is going to go up because the demand is going to, just like he says, it's going to be an S curve. It's like an S. How does the S shape? Like this, and then right that right. But no. This is, he really should call it a Z curve, like, because it'll be like this. It'll go parabolic, and then it's going to go like that. But this parabolic thing right here, that is going to be a devastating price increase that's going to happen so fast, most people are not going to be ready for it. Okay, enough pumping. Here we go. Let's see what we got.
Thank you. The third question from institutionals is, if meeting your long-term volume targets requires price reductions that preclude you from achieving your low double-digit stated margin targets for the autos business, will you still reduce prices accordingly?
Well, we want to make our cars more affordable, and it's always important to separate out affordability from value for money. If the car is too expensive, or any given product is too expensive, and people don't have enough money in their bank account, they simply can't buy it, no matter what the value proposition is. So it is important to lower the prices in order to, such that people can literally just have enough money to buy it. I do not think we lack for desire for our products, but we do lack for affordability. And so we have to improve the affordability of our products so they are not out of reach of people. We want to bring them more in reach over time, but also improve our cost of production. Obviously, we get hopefully a little bit better every year, or sometimes a lot better. And in terms of margins, all of these margins are going to look pretty comically small when you factor in autonomy.
Okay, someone asked a question about, and there was another question before that about them doing something with water heaters in the house and whatnot. I'm not gonna bother you with any of that foolishness. That's like Elon said, they don't even have a prototype for that, so they really haven't put any energy into that direction. So forget that. Now the next person asked a question about being able to get the sales and make of the car, getting the price of the car down, or asking what is he going to do with the efficiencies as the car, as production becomes more efficient, as the manufacturing of the car becomes more easier and more financially efficient. In other words, cheaper to make the car by the day almost, coming up with new innovations and whatnot. And they want to know, are they going to pass that on to the customers? I think I talked about this in my other movies. And Elon said the biggest problem they're having right now is getting the price of the car down. They have no problem with demand. They have no problem with growth margins and things like that, and profits and things like that. He said, but the problem is they still want to get the price of the car down so that people can afford it. At the same time, he just jacked the price of full self-driving up $2,000 as of tomorrow, or after 12:01. So as of today, he's going to jack the price of full self-driving up by $2,000. So now it's going to cost you $10,000 to get full self-driving. So he's kind of talking out of two sides of his mouth there, Elon. I gotta complain about that, because that's me, because I really want full self-driving. So that's my little personal thing. But I mean, like I said in my last movie, Elon said that the full self-driving package and software is going to be worth $200,000. That's what he said. And that's why what he said also in this response is that the growth, growth, growth margins and all of the other margins in their financial report here are going to be comically small when they are a multi-trillion-dollar company 4 or 5 years from now, not to mention 10 years from now in 2030. He's right, these margins are going to be laughably small. And because the demand is going to go through the roof, and I think secretly he knows that the cost of the car is going to be able to come down, as well as they're going to make a whole new model that's going to be way more affordable, and it's going to have full self-driving. They're going to talk about that in the next part. All right. So that answers that question about making the cars more affordable. Let's get it moving and see where it goes from here.
Thank you very much. The fourth question from institutionals is, at what point do you expect to have enough internal or external battery capacity to start ramping up stationary storage deployments again?
Yeah, we're ramping up stationary storage a lot. So, I mean, it's approximately doubling. We expect it to approximately double next year. So that's pretty good. And hopefully we can accelerate that in years to come.
And approximately doubling it this year too. So the growth.
Yeah. I mean, if you just keep doubling things, pretty soon you hit the mass of the universe, and we'll need to start, turning Jupiter into cells.
Okay, so that was the piece where Elon, they were asking him about storage batteries and the cell structure and how profitable and how fast it's going to grow. But he already said that it's going to double. It doubled this year, and it's going to double every year from now until as far as the eye can see. And that's when he made his statement about, well, if you keep doubling, pretty soon we'll have to go to Jupiter and try to start making cells on Jupiter, because it's going to fill up the entire Earth. Okay, that was the joke, But the point is, that's how much of a doubling of their battery manufacturing, especially as far as storage batteries go, because they use a whole different type of cell technology, and he's saying that they're doubling that, so that's never going to be an issue in terms of meeting the demand and growing the profits from storage battery sales. Okay, let's keep it moving, see what we got here.
Our next question will come from Pierre Farragut with New Street Research. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. A very simple one. You haven't talked that much about the Cybertruck today, and I was wondering how the ramp of that product is looking like, when we should see the product hitting the road, and how fast you expect to ramp volumes. And I have a quick follow-up.
Sure. I was in the studio actually on last Friday with Franz and the team, just going over sort of some improvements to the Cybertruck. Generally with at Tesla, we really aim to make the car that is delivered better than the car that is unveiled. Because it always drove me crazy. Car companies would unveil these awesome-looking cars, and you're like, great, can't wait till I make that. And then the car they actually make is much worse, and that is it's really disappointing. So, man, we always want to make the car that we deliver be better than the car we unveil, and that's the goal with the Cybertruck. So there's a lot of small improvements compared to what was unveiled. I think it's going to be better than what we showed. And yeah, it's cool. It's going to be made in Austin, so it's dependent on completing that factory. And there are obviously new technologies with the high hardness kind of armored exoskeleton. This is it's never been done before, so there'll probably be some challenges along the way. And obviously, something that's extremely high hardness and difficult to scratch or dent is also difficult to form. So there's some manufacturing challenges there. That's why it's so planar. Although it also looks good, I think, from a planar standpoint. Yeah, if all goes well, we'll be able to do some Cybertruck deliveries towards the end of next year. Yeah, so it's difficult to predict. I would say there's probably a lot of deliveries in 22 and some deliveries towards the end of next year if things go well.
Okay, that was a Cybertruck question, and Elon pretty much fielded that, straight up and down. Guy wanted to know when you can expect to see production, and Elon said that he brought up the point that one thing customers can be guaranteed that the truck, most people will put out a prototype vehicle that looks phenomenal, and then when the actual vehicle comes out, it looks terrible. Well, he said that's not what they're going to do. Again, never been done before. People don't usually do this. He said the truck that they're going to produce is going to look better than the one that they revealed. And he said they've already made some improvements on it. He said, but they're kind of being careful because they said a truck that is scratch proof and bulletproof and armored glass. He said all of these things have to, they're great, easy to produce as a prototype. He said, but when you have to mass produce it, he said that's when he said barring, you usually run into some problems there. But he said barring any unforeseen problems, he said the truck, one, will look way better than what they revealed, and two, they want to make sure that everything is running smooth and can function on a high-speed production line. And so, but he said, but definitely by the end of 2021, the trucks will come off and be scaled up full ball in 2022. Okay, so that's Cybertruck, and that's going to be devastating when that comes out in December of 2021, folks. Buckle up. When those things start showing up on the street, and he's already telling you it's going to be better than what he showed you on the reveal. And what they saw on the reveal, people were losing their minds once they got used to the new shape. People were losing their minds. I saw it right off the bat. I said, yeah, that's going to be a monster. And I put in my reservation like 2 weeks after it showed. So I'm in. And I really did it to I wanted to keep my full self-driving, my FSD, down to $7,000 because, boy, now it's up to almost $10,000. And I mean, woof, good thing I did. Anyway, let's keep it moving and see what we got here.
Okay, let's go to the next question, please.
Our next question will come from Gene Munster with Loop Ventures. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Question on the semi. If you could just walk us through the development of mega chargers, platooning, and maybe just how you think about autonomy for Tesla Semi and how you envision it impacting the broader trucking industry beyond just EV.
Well, actually, Jerome, do you want to ask that?
Yeah, we continue the development of the Semi, and in particular, mega chargers. We realized that the 350 kilowatt or so that we might be looking for cars is not going to be enough for Semi. So we're looking for something much more powerful than that that can achieve essentially charging as fast the Semi as you during a break. Driving time so that you can drive until the next break. Yeah, so there is no usable or efficient time wasted for charging the Semi. That's the goal. we're working with other parties to make sure that there is a standard infrastructure that will be able to be deployed for all customers. Yeah, that's probably all I can say at this point. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're not working on.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're not working in isolation. Yeah, we're trying to. We have to invent it because it doesn't exist, you know. But we're trying to invent something that could be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, just a note on the sort of semi. The semi does consume a lot of cells, so it's you know, call it 4 to 6 times more than a passenger vehicle. Maybe call 5, 5-ish times. So if we are cell constrained, it's difficult to ramp up the semi because there's no cells. So we need to solve the cell constraint before ramping semi to significant volume. That's the only real constraint on semi progress. We found over and over again, we just kept running into cell production limitations, and then we're just taking things out of one pocket and putting them in another. We just need more cells so that we can do more stationary storage, more vehicles, more vehicle lines. Cybertruck, we need more cells.
Okay, so that was a key piece right there. My one of my analysts, John Stewart, who does Cleaner Watt YouTube channel, he pointed out a pivotal thing that I hadn't noticed before, that the engineer that talked about who's handling all the charging systems and setting up the charging systems for the Tesla Semi, he mentioned something about a 350 kilowatt supercharger that they're working on, and he said it's not going to be good enough for Semi. So that supercharger will more than likely be designed for Cybertruck. Jean from CleanerWatt said he believed it's going to be for the cars. I believe it's going to be for Cybertruck, because Cybertruck is going to have more batteries, but not quite as many, nowhere near as he's, like Elon said here. The semi tractor trailer is going to take as many batteries as 4 or 5 cars. That's a massive amount of batteries, and it's going to take a massive system to charge that semi tractor trailer. So the engineer that he mentioned there said that they have to build the system again, a vertical integrated system that's strictly for semi tractor trailer, that's custom made by Tesla, working with other manufacturing companies. But when that charging system comes out, that is a Tesla charging system designed to charge Tesla vehicles. And that way Tesla is going to have a lock on providing charging for that vehicle, and they're going to get paid every time that they use that charging system. More value for the stock. Another locked up business that Tesla has a custom design for, that nobody else will be able to even get close, because they're going to get a patent on it, and anybody else wants to use it, they're going to have to pay Tesla. So stock goes up again on that one, folks. Tesla Semi, and they're coming out with another charging system, a supercharger that's going to supply the pickup truck. See, these are the little bombs that are being, that grenades that Elon and his engineers are dropping, but you got to have the ears to hear. John picked up on that one. I didn't pick up on that one. So I have to give John Stewart of CleanerWatt credit for that one. Good call, John. That's why you're one of my favorite analysts. Okay, let's go on and see what we got here.
Okay. And now I'm trying to get a sense of how next year is going to look like. So if I look at your production capacity at the end of this year, it's going to be almost 850,000 units on an annualized basis. And you're going to increase capacity in Shanghai, open Berlin, You say today you would open Austin as well, so you're probably going to end the year above 1 million units. And so am I right thinking next year we should expect you to deliver like somewhere like between 840,000 and 1 million cars during the year?
Yeah, we'll,
Yeah, go ahead, Ty.
yeah, we'll provide guidance on 2021 after next earnings call.
I mean, it's in that vicinity. Yeah, you're not far off.
Okay, that was a question about their overall production rate of overall vehicle sales, overall vehicle production. And the question, well, you heard the question. So Elon said absolutely. They're definitely going to be able to produce 800,000 cars next year if they double what they did this year. Or they let's say improve by 50%. I said 750,000 cars. But Elon said, yeah, with all of, and he didn't say this about the factories, but you can kind of figure it out. With all the other factories, as they start to trickle online, Shanghai is going to double its production because they're going to start producing big time Model Ys. Berlin may be able to come online later on in the year, and Texas is going to come on probably at the end of next year as well. So he said easily they'll be able to produce. The first guy asked, would they be able to produce? You know, the way it looks like he should be able to produce somewhere between 800,000 and 1 million cars. And Kirkhorn came on, Zach Kirkhorn, and he said, "Oh, hey, take it easy." He said, "We'll give you the guidance for fourth quarter after, fourth quarter. We'll give you the guidance." I should say for 2021 after we do our fourth quarter. Kirkhorn is saying, "Wait, dude, we haven't even gotten through the fourth quarter yet, and already you want to know about 2021?" So, and Elon said, "Okay, yeah." He said, "Well, you're not far off." And that, he left it at that. Okay, so that's, he really didn't want to get into all of that. But let's see what we got here.
So
Makes sense. A
Yeah.
question, just as you think about, you've talked about robotaxi and how you think that's going to impact kind of humans moving around. How do you think about semi impacting freight longer term? I mean, is this something that is nice to have and a complement to all of your tech getting in new markets, or do you think that this could be a material business?
I think it's very material, for sure. I mean, really long term, all transport will go autonomous. Yeah, horses are already autonomous, but all transport will go autonomous. Yeah, so including semis. So it'll be pretty significant.
And the technology that we're putting in semi is identical to what we're putting in the other vehicles.
Yeah, it's just bigger and more motors.
Yep.
Thank you. Let's go to the
Okay. The person, I believe the person asked a question about the impact of semi on the other industries. And Elon didn't really deal with that. He just dealt with the fact that semi is going to be a very impactful. So I think that was the word he used. It's going to be very impactful on the freight industry. And I talked about that in my last movie about how it's going to devastate the railroad freight industry. It won't wipe them out, but it's going to eat into their margin in a significant way. And it's going to draw a massive amount of profits for Tesla where nobody else was able to chip into those railroad freight industry markets. Now Tesla's going to be able to eat into that with, and what he said, a couple of nuances in that about the semi, that the semi is going to have the same full self-driving technology that all the other cars are going to have, which means that one driver will be able to dovetail or piggyback or do a daisy chain 2 other tractor trailers behind him, and only 1 driver, 3 trucks. So one driver can own 3, 4, 5 trucks, and they may have regulations that will keep them from using more than 2 or 3 trucks as a daisy chain or piggyback. Okay, but once that happens, it's going to be devastating. Drivers now can haul twice as much. They can make twice as much. And you're talking about keeping the Tesla semi down to $200,000. That's for the low level one. Okay, the more powerful, more higher towing capacity tractor trailers that's going to use a lot more batteries or have more, which is going to have stronger motors and all that other stuff. You're talking massive amounts of profit rolling in for Tesla just on semi alone, and then they're going to get money on the charging of the semi as well. It's just going to be devastating. Okay, let's keep it moving.
Our next question will come from Ben Kallo with Baird. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. Hey, Elon, what do you think the biggest structural issue is with the, let's call it old school OEMs, or 1 or 2 of the structural issues for them not getting their act together and catching up with you? And then you mentioned what we want the world to look like ahead of us. What do you envision that? Is like just Tesla or Tesla and Rivian or what? Thanks.
Well, I do think there will be other car companies. I don't think we're going to be the only one. So, I mean, the thing is that like what other car companies do, even in the auto segment, is quite a small subset of what Tesla does. So, Tesla, we design and build. We're very vertically integrated. So we're designing and building so much more of the car than other OEMs, who will largely go to the traditional supply base and like I call it catalog engineering. So it's not very adventurous, and basically it ends up like all the products end up looking the same because they're going to the same suppliers. So, I mean, to the degree that you inherit the legacy components, you inherit the legacy limitations and cost structure, and so you kind of need to make new ingredients, new parts, and then there's no machine to make those parts, so you have to make the machine that makes the parts. So Tesla's like, we probably, I mean, we might be an order of magnitude more vertically integrated than other car companies. And if we're not now, we certainly will be. And then we also have to create, like I said, our sales and service and distribution system in, I don't know, something on the order of 40 countries. Some point it'll be over 100 countries. Whereas the other car companies do not own their sales and service and distribution. So, they kind of, assemble parts from a supply base and then hand them to a dealer base. So it's just like, it's not just it's like comparing Tesla to a car company, like just comparing just really one facet or dimension of Tesla. We're like maybe 10% in common with other car companies.
Okay, and there you have it, folks. That concludes that. I think the last part, they talked about, again, more vertical integration of Tesla, with the other car companies, and them being able to catch up. He mentioned a part about the skateboard design, and Elon, just basically reiterated what he's always said about the new way that they're going to be manufacturing the vehicle chassis, with the integrated battery being an integrated part of the infrastructure and the strength of the chassis of the vehicle, and that saves them a lot of material and time because they're killing a lot of birds with one stone. He said it creates like a honeycomb kind of design, which strengthens the car itself overall and adds to the safety factor of the vehicle. He also talked about the fact that, a lot of the other automakers, they're just not going to be able to compete with that. And that a lot of them are using a skateboard design right now that the questioner wanted to get Elon's thoughts on, would that technology then be obsolete? And Elon mentioned, he said, well, first of all, we don't want to be the only automakers, EV automakers. We don't want that. We do want other automakers to be successful. He said, but however, that skateboard design that's currently out there will eventually be outdated or obsolete. But that kind of goes with any new technology that comes out. You're going to have better iterations. So that's neither here nor there, really. That's I think he was trying to imply that the other automakers are so far behind. And believe me, they're getting beat up enough. They don't need any more of a whooping and a beating that they're going to get for being so far behind the curve on this EV thing, because they just didn't want to really do it. They want to continue to suck people dry of all of their income by having these massively inefficient just cash cows that everybody's just draining the living hell out of most citizens here in the United States and all over the world with these terrible cars that are just designed to help them make money and give nothing back to the customer. It's a horrible thing, and I'm glad somebody like an Elon Musk came forward to do something to help the consumer, because we were just trapped in a cartel between the oil companies, the car manufacturers, the automobile manufacturers, and the dealerships. We were trapped, and they all work together in a cartel. So this capitalism and free market capitalism, that's a con job. There's no such thing as a free market capitalism. All of these, whether it's a vegetable stand, whether it's stores or whatnot, they all work together to control the prices. So they trap the consumer in between all of these different people that are talking to each other and say, yeah, we're going to charge them this, and no, we won't charge more than that. And then they all go up and down by pennies, but they basically stay in the same range to make this so they can suck all the money out of you. And that's what these dealerships have been doing. And the gas companies, oil companies, been selling you gasoline, sucking you on that. Then you got the parts people sucking you dry on that, and the car manufacturers are making these terrible cars on purpose so they can suck you dry on all of the maintenance that you have to come into the dealerships to make money on. So the dealership give a kickback to the companies. It's just a horrible con job that the consumer was trapped. And the big corporations, I call them vulture capitalists, that have been running these big corporations, they're not even going to go out of business. And I say good for their asses. And I'm gonna cheer as each one of them goes out of business, because they are unethical, low down vultures, and they have been sucking the American people for so long and just doing our behinds in for so long that they need to be destroyed. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm so glad somebody's finally putting some righteousness and some payback to these people for the vicious robbing and stealing that they've been doing to the American people and people all over the world. And they deserve every level and nanite of destruction that they are experiencing. And I'm clapping and I'm happy that they all going to get their behinds tore up by Tesla. And that's why I'm going to put every dime I can get my hands on into Tesla. Because finally, somebody's going to get even with their asses. Anyway, I don't want to curse. But, so he covered a lot of ground in that, and I'm not going to give you a lot of babble on my end. This was my attempt to give you as much information as possible. And as I'm going through this, if I can add anything else in, I'll do it and put the movie YouTube together, and we'll see you on the YouTube line here at our next iteration of Bantu Tesla. Take care, family.